Welcome. Today's post is International Conferences, Mini Post. Published on July 5, 2023. Disney's The Three Caballeros debuted in theaters on February 3, 1945. The next day, Winston Churchill, FDR, and Stalin, known as the Big Three, meet for an important international conference. Two big threes within 24 hours. That's quite the coincidence. Here are the topics we'll be decoding today. You can always find this list in the description below. If you enjoy this video, please press the like button and subscribe for weekly full-length blog posts and shorter, more shareable videos. Let's begin. The more famous an event, the more likely big comms were released alongside it to contextualize it. This means many famous moments in history often have shockingly obvious comms hitting at the same time. For example, what was the most famous conference of all time? Yalta Conference. Yalta Conference, the Big Three of Winston Churchill, FDR, and Stalin meeting to discuss the future. February 4, 1945. Big Three of the world meet at Yalta. February 3, 1945. Three Caballeros, Disney's seventh animated feature film released. Dig and often connections between the events become clear. Three Caballeros is about three birds meeting one another. Donald Duck, U.S. Navy outfit, equals USA. Cigar smoking bird, Churchill famously chain smoker, equals UK. Red bird equals Russia, red equals Russia. The birds represent the three people there. Each one has a symbol specific to that individual. Comms contextualized the event so as to broadcast the intent to comms-aware watchers, giving them potentially relief that Stalin was indeed there as a friend and what it means. Russia bird agrees to follow lead of the other two. At the time Disney was contracted by the military, so it would actually be stranger if they weren't producing material relevant to stuff like this. In fact, this specific production was produced through an office created by FDR. So it makes sense for FDR's biggest meeting the very production company he created would send messaging for it. It's so obvious as a symbol I'm almost surprised they don't just officially say it was the inspiration, but of course when you look closer it's obvious why they could never do that. Notice the plot. USA bird gets presents from other birds in the form of home movies. What does Russia bird give as a gift to the USA bird? An ability to look at bathing girls. Once again, just find any historical moment you want to understand and look at surrounding events. That's likely the quickest way for anyone to start decoding. You may wonder, why did they focus on Mexico? I suspect it represents an international object of cooperation in ops between the three. After World War II, the CIA set its eyes on Central America. This PDF goes in depth about the aftermath of it. Q linked this PDF, and it's a great resource in seeing what Operation Paperclip led to around the world. The deeper you look, the more the points will become clear. Notice the story of the flying donkey. Remember that Yalta involved FDR, Democrat equals donkey, going to Russia. And up until very recently USA was isolationist. Symbolism of FDR's men growing wings to fly international for ops. Stars to guide us, guitars here beside us. Symbol of exactly what these comms are already doing. Stars sending comms so comms-aware people can follow, including music. The follow-up conference to Yalta with the Big Three was at Potsdam. Potsdam Conference. Potsdam is also on the top 5 conferences list as in the most famous ever. What kind of comms were to be found then? I already decoded above and dug into the history about how it was tied to Central American ops with Operation Paperclip, so what are the odds this will match up to that? July 17, 1945. Potsdam Conference begins. Big Three arrange specifics of Germany fate. July 19, 1945. Anchors away film Navy recruitment to Hollywood. July 20, 1945. Operation Paperclip begins. Nazis joined U.S. ranks. Perfect match, and I didn't know this going in. I literally decoded this as I went and the comms predicted what I'd see. The unique thing about Three Caballeros was that it blended live action and cartoons in a way deemed revolutionary, by the trailer at least, and the very next film to do the exact same thing was Anchors Away by MGM. Each time to the most famous conference. This makes the symbol of cartoon characters interacting with live action a likely symbol for people taking on fictional identities. Notice Disney especially partnered with Nazi scientist Wernher von Braun to rally the country for an increase in funding to the space program. This friendly relationship between the countries didn't last, and the very next, most famous conference, is exactly where things are said to have broken on. One more conference. Vienna Conference. This is the origin of the Berlin Wall. What kind of comms are attached to this one? Last two were ops defined by the USA, but Vienna was Russia. Instead of seeing long-prepared cartoons we see June 3, 04/1961 Vienna Summit. June 3, 1961, death of the famous G.I. Joe carrier pigeon that saved thousands of lives. June 6, 1961, Pigeons from Hell thriller episode. Reactionary comms in the news. TV episode comms as well, which are quicker to produce than multi-year cartoons. But what was causing the problems? June 4, 1961, Vienna Conference ends. June 5, 1961, Supreme Court upheld constitutionality of McCarran Act requiring registration to DOJ of all communists and making communism membership a crime. Looks like an answer as to what upset Russia. They were perhaps demanding an end to McCarran. So if we dig into McCarran we can likely get even more clarity. September 12, 1950, McCarran Act first passed Congress. September 11, 1950, Dick Tracy detective show starring Bird. They rebooted Dick Tracy as a cartoon in 1961. Same as Vienna. Note also above the Dick Tracy show ended prematurely due to unexpected heart attack death of its star. Sounds like a protest. Another likely calm before I get into the most important one. September 12, 1950, McCarran Act passed Senate. September 10, 1950, Colgate Comedy Hour debut, top ratings. Cleaning teeth, comms. The most important date for timed comms to laws is often the day it's introduced. August 10, 1950, McCarran Act introduced, Communist Party forced to register with DOJ. August 10, 1950, Sunset Boulevard released. Did you know this has recently been said to be Donald Trump's favorite movie? Trump invoked Sunset Boulevard and Gone with the Wind as something he wanted to see return to the Oscars instead of the most recent winner, Parasite. Gone with the Wind was something I decoded conclusively as symbolism. It was a symbol for the introduction of audio. Wind equals audio. It was a message that the foreign accented silent film stars that dominated Hollywood would be gone with the wind. This came true as the King of Hollywood mantle was changed from a silent film star to Clark Gable due to this very movie. December 12, 1939. Former King of Hollywood Douglas Elton Fairbanks' death. Plus 3 days. December 15, 1939, Gone with the Wind premiered 3-day festival. Hard to get more clear than that. Old world equals Gone with the Wind. So that brings us to recent usages. What does it mean when Trump invokes Gone with the Wind and Sunset Boulevard as what we need instead of the film Parasite? Sunset Boulevard was timed to the introduction of legislation to identify and remove Russian, red, foreign infiltration. Parasite as a film is about a poor family infiltrating a wealthy family and getting more and more family members employed at the cost of the staff already there. At least that's explicitly what happens. It also presents both sides as parasites and ends in tragedy. The film seems to reflect why things need to change. It's not a good situation for any involved and measures are being taken to correct it. It's also a Korean film and the parasites are named the Kim family, which is likely a North Korean symbol. Notice Sunset Boulevard is tinted red. Film about an aging once top star desperate to return to Hollywood work and killing when she realizes it won't happen. Nominated for 11 Academy Awards yet lost to All About Eve, another 1950s film about a fading top star. The two top movies of the year having the same basic plot of an actress confronting old age. A key difference between the two films is Sunset Boulevard is a story that ends with the main star not being able to give up Hollywood and self-destructing in murder and insanity. Film literally ends with her murder and arrest. All About Eve ends in the opposite way, with the aging actress deciding to let the new young actresses have the big roles instead of herself. This is doubly meaningful given the future biggest starlet in Hollywood, Marilyn Monroe, had an early role in this film. Literally, it's telegraphing the generational shift in Hollywood, but it means a lot more than just that. This reality of two movies with the same basic plot is a template I've covered. Depending on context, the two films can represent the same thing or in some cases different approaches to the same situation. The latter is clearly the case here. Which is better? Agreeing to move on or self-destruct? What was self-destructing in 1951? Remember that Trump connected Sunset Boulevard to a Korean film. What is the meaning of connecting 1950s movies to North Korea? Sunset equals symbolism of ending. End of a day. As a com, it suggests a something to, or should, end. What did North Korea plus Russia do in 1950? The start of the Korean War. September 17, 1951. Sunset Boulevard adapted into a radio play voiced by the actors from the film. September 18, 1951. Day the Earth Stood Still. Famous film about a warning not to use nuclear or provoke aliens. That aliens only want to help the USA study alien life by providing technology to do so. The point being the breakdown of relations of once international partners. The entire world is infiltrated in various ways, and so messages get sent in novel ways for it. If legislation passes to out communists, how might a signal be sent of getting to walk to base? August 29, 30/1950 all-time walks record Eddie Stanky, New York. August 29, 1950. McCarran Act passed House. This may not be the right answer, mind you, but it is one of those things I see and think, this might be the right symbol for this. In time, patterns will clarify which is correct and which is coincidence. I go over picture/catching comms extensively in this week's new thread on Twitter. It'll be a post here within a week. Afterthoughts and future of blog. Up until this week my posts have been at least 5x this long, as I use an entire week of decoding into one post. But I got a reader suggestion to try a smaller format, and I do listen to suggestions. Next post will be much sooner than the normal week, probably 2 days, as I prepare another small post. I may switch back to the regular format after a few posts depending on reactions and my own ease in making them. I can take this blog in many directions. I can wait longer and make posts far better, or I can do as I am now and running as fast as I can, studying every conceivable piece of history and finding as many comms as possible to fill out my understanding of history. Here's an example of a decode I'm working on in the background. February 13, 2018. Flynn Dog Best in Show Westminster. Former winner 2003, Kerry. Symbol likely of the intent they had on leashing Flynn and turning him against Trump. I've only just started digging into the top dog show, but here's my dog post if you want a heck of a lot more. Part of me wants max size posts. Almost all posts until this week have been maxed out in blog size, as many topics require re-explaining comms, and so the larger the post the better, so as to minimize that. A lot of other issues, but let's try it out. One benefit is that I can turn comments on. Usually, I can't because they are so full of links, even one more would literally break the post. This is a good opportunity for you to weigh in. What kind of decoding presentation do you want? Just this last week we've had a wonderful contribution. I've never asked for help, but people have put in the effort necessary to find me online and do things like this. It makes me happy to see. My work isn't nearly the level yet where it can spread widely, but a few are ahead of the curve and already get it, smiley face. I like this phrasing, solving philosophy. One day I'll get back to my philosophical pursuits, it's the thing that turned me from MK'd into whatever it is I am now. Long story. But first we have to save humanity. Wouldn't be as fun to solve the greatest mysteries of the world by myself. I hope the people in power today feel the same way about understanding things the rest don't. It may be fun to live in a secret club, but it shouldn't be built on the backs of everyone else. That world, merely by existing, perpetuates a growing ignorance that eats away at the potential of all. How many great things could have come to be that haven't due to it? How many great minds were dulled by it? We may never know, but when enough truth is uncovered, I am confident the true potential of all mankind will make itself known in a revolution of the mind the likes of which we can't yet imagine. A revolution that will lead to a world where rather than being lulled into sleep and submission we have legions of inventors opening their mind to infinite possibilities. What would come with a world of millions instead of hundreds of geniuses? I'm talking about Musk level, nobody can know, but perhaps we can bring that day into being. I will continue to do my part to lift the darkness, keeping that brilliantly lit tomorrow at a distance. Telegram chat. Join the Decoding Blog Telegram group. Begin decoding. Send leads. This has been International Conferences, mini post.